Love it. Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu. What's up, Jobu? As well as Joe Bayer in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up here, guys. Good morning, guys. What's up? What's up? What's up? Let me start by saying, Washington, I got to give you guys credit. Heineke, Heineken, grab a Heine, I don't care what you want to call him. Dude, for not knowing he was going to start for the Washington football team until a few hours for the game, dude played unbelievable. And I have to give him credit because that was an unbelievable performance. 352 yards. I dare say that the Washington football team may have been better off actually having Heineke, and maybe that might be the game that gets that guy paid. I talked about the Washington football team. In fact, I talked about the whole division when we look at quarterback situations. If Dak Prescott comes back, 100% from the ankle injury and the Cowboys decide to sign him, and believe me, if the Cowboys don't sign him, teams are already lining up. I read an article this morning about the 49ers. They're like, yeah, well, we'll keep Jimmy Garoppolo if a better option doesn't come up. But they're already saying, if that option happens to be Dak Prescott, we're going all in to try and get Dak Prescott because we feel like he would be a major upgrade. And I was talking about, of course, the Eagles. The Eagles right now, I don't know if they'll get rid of Carson Wentz or not, if Carson will went or not. But if they don't part with him, you have to think that they're going to try and rehabilitate him because finding a franchise quarterback is hard. And I'm not sure just yet if Jalen Hurts is that franchise quarterback. And if you're the New York stinking Giants, you still have to wonder about Danny Dimes, who, here it is, he's a couple years in. You still kind of say, okay, you're going to take it to that next level. I know he doesn't have a lot of talent around him, but he's a guy that's had a lot of turnovers in his career and things. I know, Rashid, you're going to say, I'll take Danny Dimes over Dak Prescott anytime. Well, you're the only idiot that's going to say that. And I looked at Washington and saying, Alex Smith, it's a great story, comeback player of the year and everything else. But when you're talking about them taking part of your calf out of one leg and putting it into the other leg that's had 17 surgeries, and you see he's played well when he's been there, but your best ability is your availability. I said Washington is in the need for a quarterback. Well, okay. I'm sure that they're going to re-sign Heineke after that performance and say, you know what, between him and Josh Allen, maybe we can hold off or, and Alex Smith and see what we have. So I have to congratulate Washington for winning our bad division. And regardless, you still kicked our ass twice. So I've got to give you props on that. And I thought for sure that you guys were going to get blown out by Tampa Bay, but you guys held tight. So, that's my praise. That's the one nice thing I'm going to say about you guys. And that's it. We're done. We're over with. And you'll never hear anything good out of my mouth again about the Washington football team. But Today, friends, the Cowboys will be doing a virtual interview with Joe Witt Jr. Joe Witt, of course, worked with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay on the defensive side of the ball, and I think Mike McCarthy wants to have people who he's familiar with working with. That situation. Now, here's what I'm hearing may be happening. Last year, it was kind of like the Cowboys had gotten rid of Jason Garrett, where they did a lot of the micromanaging of the team. They had a lot of direct input into the players that were being brought in, as well as the coaching staff. The Cowboys had a tendency to always promote from within guys that they knew, former players that were coaches, and so on. And when they got rid of somebody, it was somebody who was already in the organization. It seems like that whole dynamic changed 100%. Once they ended up bringing in Mike McCarthy, and I think what they thought is, this is the turnkey coach. We can turn the keys over to him. We'll come back and we'll have the big reveal and we'll be done. But now I think they're having, second thoughts about that dynamic and saying, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes just a little bit here. And let's see about, let's kind of double check on some of these things. Let's make sure that the color is the color that we actually like, and whether we want granite shelves or if we want wood shelves. And so what I'm hearing is Will McClay may be part of this interview process along with Mike McCarthy as a representative of the Dallas Cowboys. And you have to look at Will McClay as probably the most powerful person in the Cowboys organization behind Jimmy Johnson in the time that Jerry Jones has had it, because it's basically the Jones family, and Will McClay has been trusted as the guy. Now, I still don't understand why they haven't just said, Will McClay, you're the GM. And I've actually got a question on this one, because the new Rooney Rule, or addition to the Rooney Rule, is if another team takes one of your coaches and they become a head coach, where it's you're going from an assistant coach, a defensive coordinator, and you become a head coach, you will end up getting a third-round draft pick. Same thing with a person going and becoming a GM. If they leave your organization and become a GM elsewhere, you get a third-round draft pick. So I'm curious, though, if Will McClay was promoted to GM, shouldn't that have the same effect? He's a minority. He's now a GM. Could the Cowboys get a third-round pick? I know I'm pushing the rule in there, but I'm just saying, hey, look, the worst thing that can happen is they could say no, but they say, well, he did get a GM job. He did work as head of scouting. Am I crazy? Okay, all right. Maybe I am crazy. Regardless. But it would behoove the Cowboys to hire a minority for defensive coordinator. And if he comes in and does really well and gets a head coaching job, down the road, we're talking about getting a number 3 draft pick. And I will take that any day, okay? So along with, of course, Joe Witt interviewing today, I think this is just the first. I'm hoping that the Cowboys just don't get laser focused on one guy and say, okay, we're going to interview this and we're not going to look at anybody. You're our guy. At least go through the process of meeting different people, pick their brains, get some more feel, because you may end up getting ideas from somebody you didn't even think about. He may come in and you can say, hey, how you doing? I'm Jerry Jones. Hey, I'm Jerry Jones, of course. And of course, Mike McCarthy. And, you've seen the Dallas Cowboys defense where, we've given up more points than anybody out there. We had a problem with taking the ball away. We seem to have people that are lost. What would you do to kind of fix this situation? And that person might say, well, hold up, here's your problem. Your biggest problem right now is fundamentals. I know that sounds elementary, but it's just tackling. If we could just go through and instead of being carried down the field 3 or 4 yards, if we can make that tackle, cut down on the missed tackles, we could drop off 25% of the yards that the other opposition is getting. Oh, okay, tackling. Oh, wow. Tackling would be that much of a difference. The next thing, we also have to start teaching these guys that they need to start having more hats on the ball. Part of the problem with why you're not getting all these takeaways is because these guys will look and see one guy engaged in there and they'll say, hey, he stopped. But that's where you start teaching ball knocking out skills. When you see a guy who's getting stood up, you immediately need to be focusing in on that ball, and like a guided missile, you're trying to pop that sucker out. And if you can get just one more takeaway a game, that will translate into 6.8 more points per game for your team. Oh, wow. Okay. And you start taking notes. That's how you do it. This is an opportunity to learn something from people who may not get a job. And somebody who you didn't think may come in and wow you and literally make you feel like the light bulb comes on. Now, knowing the Dallas Cowboys and what they've done in the past, I will say that George Edwards has the inside track. George Edwards is already here. He's already here, right? We ended up bringing him here from Minnesota. And George Edwards, of course, worked as a linebacker coach for the Dallas Cowboys back in, I want to say, 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there. I'm sorry. No, 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 no. Let me back that up. Back that up. I'm having a brain fart. He worked as a linebackers coach for the Cowboys in 98 to 2001. And that's when we had like Dexter Coakley, and Dexter Coakley went to a couple of Pro Bowls under him. So you have that dynamic. He was part of course, Minnesota, and Minnesota, before they got Kirk Cousins, was really known for actually having a great defense. That Minnesota, was kind of the purple people eaters. Two, kind of, you could say. They thought, with the defense we have, we get Kirk Cousins, who's a quality quarterback, we're going back to Super Bowl. And that is a great dynamic that you have there. So you could see somebody like him coming in and being the de facto new coach of the Cowboys. There's, of course, talk of Marvin Lewis, but Marvin Lewis is trying to get that head coaching job. So I believe he's interviewing with, of course, the Lions. Not to say that that's a great place to start over with, but hey, a head coaching job is a head coaching job. And, of course, Cowboy fans will turn around after we go through and say you're trash, your ass, get them out of here. They'll turn around and say, hey, let's go back and get the guy that we trashed and said is no good and chased out of town. I'm not sure Chris Richard would want to come back to us crazy Cowboy fans. He's interviewing with the Raiders for their defensive coordinator spot. So that's where we are with this situation right now. Now, the problem that's going to happen is going to be figuring out players coming up. The combine may or may not happen, or it may be evolving, and we'll find out more about that later on this week. I'll have more later on the whole situation with the combine, but Indianapolis, they have the NCAA tournament that's going to be there when the combine would normally go through, and we're still dealing with the pandemic, and so they're looking at it and not wanting to make a super spreader event. It may end up being regional events where, you have a East Coast, West Coast, North, South, whatever, different smaller venues of workouts for the players. The key for the NFL, of course, is they want to be able to broadcast this because, again, it's more exposure in the off season. I mean, we all know it's just glorified workouts. It's basically kind of like cattle in line going to the slaughterhouse where they're poking and prodding and checking everything. But as fans that absolutely positively love football, we're satisfied with seeing a cone drill and a 40-yard dash. That's how hooked we are on the product that the NFL serves us. All right, guys, we got 3 more playoff games today, and I got some work to do in the workshop, and I'm going to do a little work down in here. I'm going to change some of the stuff on the desk. My wife says that I got too much stuff. She says that, less is more. And I've been changing with the computer system. I don't have the other computer that used to be up here, so that clears off some of it. You don't get the screen up here blocked as much, although I miss having that one here. But I think we can put the toilet away. I think the toilet award, I think everybody in the NFC East got one of those. We can put that off of here. But I think I'm going to move the mixer over some, so I've got a little bit more space here to just kind of spread out a little bit and just make it look a little different. But we're going to work on it, and we're going to be ready for anything that happens with the Dallas Cowboys. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I will see you later.